Good morning and welcome. Or should I say good afternoon and welcome. Please be seated. I would like to recognize and extend warm greetings to our distinguished guests, Senator the Honorable Gayton Jonathan Lacarette, Minister of Health, Wellness, and Religious Affairs, Dr. G. Richard Aols, President and Keynote Speaker, Dr. Glenn Jacobs, my apologies, Provost, Dr. Brendan Lagrenard, Vice Provost for Institutional Advancement, Dr. Gabrielle Walcott-Bedeau, Assistant Provost for University Academic and Student Affairs, Dr. Marius Lucas, Dean of the School of Medicine, Dr. Mark Clunas, Senior Associate Dean of the School of Medicine, Dr. Lucy Clunas, Dean of Students, Dr. Shivayogi Bushnamath, Dean of Academic Affairs, Dr. Joanna Reyna, Associate Dean of Faculty Affairs, other faculty members, staff. Special welcome to the proud family and friends of our White Coat recipients, and most importantly, our White Coat recipients, the class of 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anna Cyrus Murden, and I'm the Assistant Dean of Simulation and Deputy Chair in the Department of Clinical Skills here at St. George's University School of Medicine. Firstly, I have had the opportunity to address various audiences, but as an alumnus of St. George's University, today is truly a profound honor for me to be standing before you as your master, or should I say mistress, of ceremonies for your White Coat ceremony. It is also my distinct pleasure to be able to celebrate with you today and bear witness as you open yet another chapter of your momentous journey towards your ultimate aspiration. It will be remiss of me, however, not to recognize your families and support systems, since their contributions to your accomplishment has indeed been invaluable. Not so very long ago, I tried to tell myself that, I literally sat in the very same seat as you are in today. I remember bolting to the stage, eager to receive my white coat in anticipation, because to me it was a rite of passage into one of the noblest professions. However, after waking up this morning with the pain and decreased range of motions in both my right shoulder and knee, I thought to myself, if I was to receive my white coat today, I am certain that the ceremony would end long before I make my way to the stage. My friends, this class, the class of 2026, is indeed a special one. This is because you are the first to be adorned in person with white coats since the inception of the global health crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic has remodeled the healthcare landscape and has indeed shown us that the world needs you now more than ever. We need your knowledge, skills, and positive attitude to help us promote, improve, and restore health, and demonstrate the importance of humanism in medicine. This purpose is not limited to only restoring health, but transcends to restoring your patient's way of life. But of course, this will require creativity, empathy, self-discipline, vigilance, compassion, sacrifice, and hard work. Let me share a short story with you. As a child, I could remember my parents, and anyone else for that matter, asking me, what do you want to be when you grow up? My response was always, a Chinese doctor. That was because my pediatrician was Asian, and because of all the things that I saw in him, the most significant being his empathy, virtue, humility, sense of humor, and his ability to make me feel better. So I just wanted to be exactly like him, Asian included. So as with my pediatrician, the onus rests with you to ensure that you maintain a good doctor-patient relationship and hold true the values of this esteemed profession. Just as some of you, my journey to this moment began way before I sat within the walls of this institution, and has not always been a smooth one. May it have been through the death of my mother during my second semester here, or the financial hardship experienced thereafter. As aspiring physicians, believe me when I say you will encounter some obstacles, but you have the resilience, the tenacity required to cope with, recover from any uncertainty that life may toss at you. And if I did it, you certainly can. As you put on those white coats, we welcome you into the SGU family. Apart from the medical knowledge which you will obtain, St. George's University provides a unique experience that is designed to equip you with the tool set needed to succeed. Through mentorship, character development, social responsibility, diversity and inclusion, and community service. Service, not in the default sense of the word or the practical application of your knowledge, but in a way that demonstrates excellence. Today, I encourage you, moreover, I challenge you to go beyond default and strive for excellence. So to the class of 2026, today your presence here affirms or legitimizes the hard work that led you to this very milestone. I believe that this accomplishment speaks to something more. I believe that this authorizes you to commit to change. Change for the best of your community, change for the best of your country, change for a better world. Of course, there is something satisfying in completing your course of study, but after today, we need you to leave with great expectations about what you can do to create a better world by living to your fullest potential. Again, welcome to St. George's University. I would now like to take a moment to share with you a brief history of this ceremony. In 1993, the Arnold P. Gold Foundation created the white coat ceremony at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons to promote humanism in medicine. With guidance from the Gold Foundation, St. George's University School of Medicine initiated its own white coat ceremony in 1996, long before many other U.S. schools. In 2003, the Gold Foundation founded the Gold Humanism Honor Society, widely known as GHHS, an international society dedicated to the promotion of humanism, professionalism, and ethics in medical practice and education. Dr. Arnold Gold sadly passed away in 2018 at the age of 92. Dr. Gold was an international advocate for humanism in healthcare. We are honored to have hosted Dr. Gold and his wife Sandra as keynote speakers for our Spring 2005 White Coat Ceremony. SGU's chapter of the Goal Humanism Honor Society is based in the Department of Clinical Skills and supported by the Dean of Medicine's office. Our chapter established the Humanitarian Student Organization, SHO, in 2009, through which basic science students promote humanism across SGU and Grenadian communities. Chapter members are nominated by their peers and inducted during their clinical training when they participate in an ongoing chapter project. At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome to the podium Dr. Glenn Jacobs, Provost of St. George's University.
Thank you, Dr. Cyrus Murden. Good afternoon. I stand on the protocol already established. I would like to welcome all of you on behalf of St. George's University Senior Administration. So it's really great to see all of you here this morning. Anna already referred to COVID March 2020, when we basically airlifted most of our medical students here from Grenada. And it's for us as administrators, faculty, just such a pleasure to see all of you assembled here today together, the first white coat ceremony since 2020 February in person. Thank you for being here, all of you. Also, a special word of welcome once again to our Minister of Health, Jonathan Lacrette. Very nice to see you here again today. Thank you. A special word of welcome to all the spouses, families, friends, alumni for joining us here today. Thank you for visiting our beautiful island of Spice, Grenada. So while you're here, I hope you are also enjoying the island a little bit. And tonight's an evening of celebration, and I'm sure you are going to take your loved one out to dinner. So don't make it cheap. Give them some lobster. It's a great dish to have here on the island. But before you do that, something that you can take away from the island, which is a little bit unique to the island of Grenada. Some people say you see it all over the place. Some people just say they see it regardless. But you might go and try and see the green flash. Now, if you haven't heard what that is, you can Google it, but not right now on your phone. But you can Google it. It's a sunset, and when the sun just sets on the horizon, you keep your eyes open long enough without blinking, you're going to see a little flash that's green. That'll be kind of a unique thing to take back with you. So, might do that this evening. So, you as students, what will I tell you here today? This is a very special day indeed. And I would like to mention the following to you. Now, all of you sitting here in front of me, you've had your dreams, you've had your goals. And that's what got you here in the first place. Now, weekly, you get an email from the university. I guess you get more than one email from the university. Yeah, I see so. Yeah, you get quite a lot. That is still the official communication of the university to our students. I know we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, but we don't really use TikTok with you guys, so just look at your emails. But there's this email that you get this week at SGU. I see some of you shaking your head, not a lot, but that's an email that just tells you a little bit of what's going on the campus. Now that's kind of nice to go through it, but actually you can scroll right to the bottom, because there's a little section there that says, the provost says. Well, that's me. So you can read that little piece right at the bottom. And what it says is, I provide you with a little quote. So I guess today I'll say this quote that you will get in Monday is hot off the press, because I'm going to give you a quote today. And you don't even have to remember it, because it will be in that email on Monday. Now, I think it's a relevant quote, and this quote is by one of my favorite actors, and his name his name is Denzel Washington. Oh, yeah, you guys know him, eh? Yep. I also know him, not in person. Um, but he's got lots of quotes, lots of good sayings. But the one I thought that's really relevant to you here today is the following. And I'll read it to you. Dreams without goals are just dreams, and ultimately they fuel disappointment. On the road to achieving your dreams, you should apply discipline. But more importantly, consistency. Because without discipline, commitment, you'll never start. But without consistency, you will never finish. So, pursue your dreams today, your goals. Be consistent, and remember this special day. Once again, congratulations. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Dean of the School of Medicine, Dr. Marius Lucas.
I'm tall, I know. Welcome, class of 2026. It's so nice to see you all those nice faces, finally. We've been a little bit on, at least the faculty and the administrators and the staff of St. George University. We had, I would say, a small rough time without students here. We didn't get the energy and the whole good vibes that we normally get from you. So we really felt our age. As Dr. Cyrus said, those knees and shoulders is a constant problem from some of us and on an everyday basis. But anyway, welcome, and it's great to have you here, and I'm sure we're going to do great things together. White coat ceremony signifies something really important. Signifies your commitment to the humanities, to the society, and to the profession of medicine that is now more important than ever. As you understand, we got a lot of spotlight during the pandemic, all the physicians and the physicians-to-be. And the pandemics, they don't stop here. We're expecting that maybe more pandemics will come over in the next maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And that means puts you on the spotlight and puts you in a very unique position to serve the humanities like no other physicians before. You're going to wear a white coat. Now, white coat has been a little bit controversial the last couple of years because studies have shown that it's contaminated with a lot of germs and you can contaminate a lot of people. So in many hospitals, we don't wear any more white coats, but we are wearing different type of dressing to prevent the spread of infections. But still signifies for us something very important. Signifies the tradition of medicine, signifies the scientific method that we are able to do the diagnosis, and we are able to help the society and our patients. So it's very, very important moment. In this milestone also signifies that you're not a student anymore. You were a student maybe a month ago when you came to this university, and we welcome you and we say, welcome students. Now you had already your first exam. So at this point, you're more like physicians in training. And that comes again with a huge responsibility. We understand that medicine is a tough, our school of medicine or studies for becoming a physician is tough. It's not an easy thing. But you have a lot of support and help from all of us, the faculty, the administration, I'm pretty sure your parents, but more importantly, from the Grenadian people. All Grenada is here to support you. Once you say that I'm a medical student at SGU, every single Grenadian will smile and will say, yes, go for it. We are here to help you anything you want. Because you're becoming great ambassadors of this place. You show what St. George's University has given to the rest of the world. And as you know, we are the #1 provider of physicians in the United States for the last couple of years. So it has a lot of responsibility, which I'm pretty sure every single of you will be able to be a great physician and will make really proud yourself and us. And my last thought, in order to make significant changes in this world, it's not only enough to become a physician. You need to do something more than that. You can be an excellent physician. You can really be even a chair of a department or even a dean of a medical school. But you have to the degree that everybody can, involved more in the politics, involved more in areas that you can push the envelope and make that significant change that the world needs nowadays. We don't talk anymore about just diversity and inclusion. We talk about anti-racism. Those are important concepts and important things that we expect everybody in this room, specifically you're going to be able to bring it to the next level. So just being a physician is extremely important, but to do the extra step, we encourage you, and as Dr. Cyrus would say, we challenge you to be involved more into the decision-making process, and that includes politics, committees, and so on, and that can start very early on. I'm sure that you have a bright future, and all of us, we are looking forward to see that bright future and support you to the best of our abilities. Congratulations for being here, and Godspeed.
Hello to all, Dr. Lucas. I think it got confused. I thought it probably was veterinary school. Thank you so much, Dr. Lucas. I'm sure the class of 2026 are wait with bated breath for what lies ahead, and they're ready to make their contribution towards excellence. So it is my pleasure now to introduce Dr. G. Richard Aols, our keynote speaker. Dr. Aols is an educator, physician, and administrator during a distinguished career spanning more than 30 years. I understand, almost 50. Dr. Aols became president of St. George's University in Grenada on August 28, 2015. Prior to joining SGU, he was the vice chancellor for health affairs and founding dean of the School of Medicine at the University of California, Riverside, UCR. In 2010, Dr. Aols joined UCR to lead the creation of a new school of medicine, the first LCME accredited medical school in California in more than 4 decades. Dr. Aols is a graduate of Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine and trained in internal medicine at the Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. He was an infectious disease fellow and one of the nation's first geographic medicine fellows at the University Hospitals of Cleveland, where he also served as medical chief resident and faculty member. He served as a full professor of medicine, pediatrics, molecular cell, and development biology at Brown University. He was professor and chairman of medicine at the Metro Health campus of Case Western Reserve University. His role at UCR was preceded by a decade-long stint as professor and chair of medicine at the Medical College of Wisconsin. In addition to his academic background, Dr. Aols is a tropical disease specialist with extensive experience working in Asia and Africa. He has over 100 peer-reviewed articles and book chapters, primarily on international health topics. He currently serves on a World Health Organization expert panel and was the chairman of the board of a large Gates Foundation project to deworm children in sub-Saharan Africa. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Dr. Aols.
Even taller. Well, congratulations to the class of 2026. And welcome to all the family and friends in the audience who've been with us today for this important event. Let me start at the very beginning with a little bad news for you. When you put on that white coat today, you're not going to know one more thing about medicine than you know when you're sitting there today. It's the symbolism of the white coat that makes the difference. Now, when I was asked to be the keynote speaker today, I gave a lot of thought to what I should do. And I have experienced either spoken at or participated in many, many white coats. In fact, to give you a perspective of that, when you graduate in 2026, I will be a physician for 50 years. So obviously I have a lot of experience in academic medicine. So I was thinking a bit. I said, well, I could tell them about the history of the white coat ceremony. It's already been done. I could talk about the importance of the white coat. It's already been covered. I could talk about the impact of COVID on all of us, including the practice of medicine. Already touched on that. So I actually took some advice from my son. And he said, you know, Dad, when in doubt, tell him a story. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm going to tell you three stories of patients that I took care of during my professional career, which I hope will be allegories for the meaning of that white coat that you put on today. Well, the first story starts when I was a brand new intern, my first week as a resident. You already heard from my background. I trained at the Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, and I was called to the emergency room early one morning, and I was going to take care of Miss Robinson. Now, Miss Robinson was an elderly black woman who was in really bad respiratory distress. And it wasn't hard to figure out what was wrong. It didn't take a rocket scientist to feel the fact that if you put your hand on her chest, you could actually feel the murmur of aortic stenosis. Now, aortic stenosis is a narrowing of that big valve that exits the heart, and when it gets narrow, it often causes the heart to fail. And there's not a lot that you can do medically to treat that condition. Anyway, we got her feeling a bit better, and I sent her upstairs. And about an hour later, I went back upstairs, and there sitting on the nurse's station was a stack of charts about 3 feet high. And I started going through it to read all of her past admissions. And in those documents, there were many very erudite and very scientifically specific workups by all the luminaries that trained at the Mass General before me. And they all figured out that Miss Robinson had calcific aortic stenosis of the elderly, talked about all the various management, and ultimately ended with saying that she had to have open heart surgery. And with every single one of those admissions, Miss Robinson refused to have the surgery, was discharged home, and had medical treatment for her condition. Well, the most important to me was when I went to the very last chart and opened it up, I discovered that Miss Robinson was a patient of a third-year resident that just left the Mass General. And what that meant is suddenly Miss Robinson became my patient. Now, I took care of Miss Robinson on and off through the rest of that summer. She was admitted every few weeks, obviously with congestive heart failure. We'd get her feeling a little bit better. We would recommend cardiac surgery, and she would steadfastly refuse. But I did get to know Miss Robinson during that period of time, and during one of her admissions, I sat down with her and I said, you know, Miss Robinson, I know you're a smart woman. You were a school teacher for 40 years. All you have to do is put your hand in your chest and you're going to know what your problem is. And I know you know that unless we replace that valve, this is not going to be fixed. The medicines that we're giving you on a regular basis are just not working enough to keep you out of the hospital. Why are you keep refusing to have this operation? Well, by now she knew me pretty well, and she confided in me that she had moved from the South when she was a young woman. She had taught in the Boston public school system for 40 years, and she had been retired for the last 20 years. And almost all of her family and friends had died or moved away, and she was all alone. And she said that when she thought about this huge operation that she had to have in this big, scary building, she just couldn't face it, and she refused to have the operation. Well, I thought a bit about that, and I came back later that day, and I turned to Miss Robinson and I said, you know, if you had a friend that would, you know, be with you when you were admitted to the hospital, you know, would help you through the induction of anesthesia, would be there when you were in the recovery room, would help you in recovering from this big operation, do you think this might be a little easier for you to go through this surgery? And she thought about that, and she said, you know, that might help. So 2 days later, Miss Robinson and I were admitted to the Mass General Hospital. I was there when she went down and had anesthesia, and I was at her bedside when she woke up from anesthesia, and I went and saw her several times a day all through her recovery. It wasn't a big deal. In those days, before work hours, I was working literally 120 hours a week. We literally lived in that hospital. All I had to do is just walk over to the surgical ward every so often to see Miss Robinson. But I'll never forget that patient, because during her recovery, she knitted an Afghan for me, and that Afghan sits on my bed in my summer home in Vermont to this day. Well, what's the parable of the story of Miss Robinson? Miss Robinson didn't need some really smart doctor to figure out what was wrong with her. She didn't know what evidence-based medicine said was the right thing to do. What Miss Robinson needed was a friend. And if there weren't any other friends around, that friend had to be me. And that's the meaning of the white coat you put on today. Now, the second patient is Dr. Glenn Aols. Now, you might guess from that name that this was my father. Interestingly, my father was a college president too. I think this is sort of a family tradition. Anyway, unfortunately, he had a very bad cardiovascular history. Also bad for me, by the way. But he had open heart surgery when he was in his early 60s and had coronary artery bypass surgery. That's where they took veins out of your leg and plugged it into the beginning of the aorta and went past the blockages in your coronary artery and sewed them in, and that basically allowed you to keep going. And it was very successful surgery. He lived for another 6 years and was doing great. Then a fairly catastrophic event took place. He had an aortic dissection. Now, an aortic dissection refers to that big artery that comes out of the heart, and in a dissection, the lining of that artery rips away from the muscular wall, and if you don't do something about that quickly, you're going to die. Now, he was rushed into the Cleveland Clinic to have emergency cardiovascular surgery, and this was a really tough surgery because he'd already had a surgeon in there, and there's a lot of scar tissue around that aorta and the aortic valve. And as I waited in the waiting room with my family, Dr. Lytle walked out of the surgical suite to talk to us, and he said, well, I was able to put a Dacron graft into the section of aorta that was ripped, and I was able to replant those vein grafts, but I didn't think your dad could last another 6 hours, which was how long it would take to save that valve. And so I did my best to try to save the native valve that he still had in there. And it worked reasonably well. He had another 6 years of relatively good health. And then, as you might have predicted, that valve began to fail. Now, in this case, he had aortic insufficiency, the exact opposite of Miss Robinson. And basically, every time the heart pumped and pushed blood into the aorta, it leaked back. And if that happens, that puts you in congestive heart failure as well. And again, just like Miss Robinson, that isn't very well treated with medical treatment. That requires surgery. But in this particular case, my dad had too many complicating features to undergo open heart surgery, and we were left with medical management. Now, he was put on a lot of medicines, and I got a really excellent internist to take care of him and try to keep him out of the hospital as much as we could. But it got to the point where I actually called my father twice a day, and I adjusted his medicines personally based on his weight, his blood pressure, his pulse, and his symptoms. And he started failing. So I got in a plane. At the time, I lived in the Midwest, and I flew out to Oregon, and when I got there, it's pretty clear he was doing poorly. We called 911, and we went into the hospital, and I browbeat the doctors there to give him the very best of care, put him up in the intensive care unit, and I decided to spend the night with my dad. Well, in the middle of the night, as we were talking, my dad said, I'm really proud of you, son, and we're proud of all of the care that you've been giving me over all these years to keep me alive. But the truth is, I just can't keep living this way. I don't want to keep coming into the hospital. I don't want people to, jab IVs and intubate me and do these other things. I want to go home and pass away quietly looking at Mount Hood and with my family and friends around me. And that's exactly what we did. We discharged him home on hospice, and 2 weeks later, he passed away quietly, looking at Mount Hood. So what's the parable of that story? Well, you might say that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't take care of your own family and friends, which is a true statement. And that's because if you get too emotionally involved with your patients, you don't make the right decisions. And ultimately, I wasn't listening to my father, the patient. I was doing everything I could to keep him alive because that's what I wanted. But I wasn't listening to what he wanted. And ultimately, I did the right thing. But I was a pretty senior doctor at that point. Heck, I was the chairman of medicine. And I still missed that connection. So the message to you is, as much as wearing that white coat requires you to do things for your patient, to be their advocate, to do the things that help your patient do better, get to know your patient, you can't get so close that you can't objectively guide your patient for what they want rather than what you want as a physician. Well, the third story and last story is the story of Mr. Anderson. Now, this took place about 15 years ago when I was the chairman of medicine at Wisconsin. And when I was the chairman of medicine, I attended about 4 months out of the year. And I always attended in July. And my department is divided between the VA and the university hospital. So this particular July, I was at the VA hospital as the inpatient attending. I always wanted to be there in July because the house staff are all brand new in July. And the third-year medical students, this is their very first rotation, so they don't know anything about medicine during those first few months. So we put our most senior people on the front lines in July and August to make sure that, patient care goes well. So as a result of attending that often, I got to know a lot of the patients that were coming in and out of the hospital on a regular basis, usually with some chronic disease. And the first week of July, Mr. Anderson came into the hospital, and I knew Mr. Anderson from past admissions. Now, Mr. Anderson had a fairly sad medical story. His wife had passed away about 8 years before, prematurely, and he had developed leukemia. And he had to go through multiple rounds of chemotherapy and radiation therapy, which was very difficult for him. But the worst thing is, after all of that, he had a massive stroke that paralyzed the left side of his body, and he had to leave his beloved dairy farm in northern Wisconsin, and he was now bedbound in his daughter's house in Milwaukee, something that he really hated. And he would come into the VA hospital periodically with urinary tract infection, infected decubitus ulcer, aspiration pneumonia, and we'd get him a little better, and we would send him back home, and he would come back every several weeks with any one of the numerous complications of a person with that debilitating disease. Well, that first week he came in, I assigned Bill, a brand new third-year medical student, to Mr. Anderson's care. Now, I actually gave it some thought. Bill had actually come from the same dairy farm region in northern Wisconsin. I thought they might have something in common. And in fact, it turned out to be the case. When I'd walk by in rounds, Bill would be often talking to Mr. Anderson about fly fishing or deer hunting with a bow and arrow. And Bill would ask Mr. Anderson a lot about the Vietnam War, something he knew virtually nothing about, because virtually every veteran at that time was a Vietnam War veteran in the VA hospital. And we eventually sent Mr. Anderson home, and he came back 2 more times during that month, and each time I reassigned Bill to the case. And, obviously Bill and Mr. Anderson developed an excellent relationship. Well, at the end of the month, I had to go to a medical meeting, and I left, and I was gone for about a week. And when I got back, there was a phone message on my desk from my secretary from Mr. Anderson's daughter. So I called her up, and Mr. Anderson's daughter said that while I was gone, her dad had passed away. And I told her I was sorry that I wasn't there to be there with the family, and I hope everything was peaceful at the end, etc. And she told me this story. Mr. Anderson was a very deeply religious person, and he for years had wondered why God had punished him so. His wife had died, He had leukemia. He had to go through all this painful treatment. And worst of all, he had this massive stroke, and he had to leave his dairy farm that he never wanted to leave. And he was now living this invalid life in his daughter's house in Milwaukee. And then she told me that just a few days before he died, he said, you know, I finally figured out why God had me live this long. It was so Bill could become a better doctor. That's the meaning of that white coat that you put on today. So each of you will become excellent scientific physicians. We will teach you all about health and disease. We will teach you how to use those stethoscopes you got. By the way, the pointy parts go in your ear. So there's no doubt that you will all technically become excellent physicians. But if you want to be a really great doctor, it's your patients that will teach you. Listen to them. Understand them. Because ultimately, that's what makes a really great physician. So to class of 2026, let me welcome you to the noble practice of medicine. Thank you and God bless.
Never realized how short I am until moments like these. Thank you so very much, Dr. Aols, for those inspiring words, and I'm sure every member of the class of 2026 will ensure that they listen to their patients. St. George's University School of Medicine will now present you with a white coat, symbolizing your entry to the profession and your commitment to uphold the duties and trusts associated with medicine and medical training. To quote our students today, I will now invite to the stage several faculty from our college leadership. From Hippocrates College, Dr. Theophanis Coleus and Dr. Aisha Sultana. From Makindo College, that's my college, by the way. Dr. Gabrielle Walcott-Bedu and Dr. Hisham Elnush. From Metadora College, Dr. Marona Sukupatab and Dr. Dion Forrester. From Peabody College, Dr. Michonne Sukupatab and Dr. Mundell George. In recognition of our international enrollment, Dr. Joanna Rayner, Associate Dean of Faculty Affairs, will call each student by name. Those students who today have with them a physician, family member, or loved one will be quoted by those physicians. Please hold your applause until all students have been robed. And for safety, we ask that the audience to kindly remain seated and not interrupt the ceremony by taking pictures in the forward section of the hall. Thank you for your cooperation.
Good afternoon. We begin today with Hippocrates College. Jessica Madden, Pennsylvania. Diana Valdez, Florida. Jacob Hobby, Florida. David Hare II, Maine. Noel Starr, Florida. Nelson Solano, Florida. Odile Umwamikazi, Rwanda. Lady Gonzalez Perez, Cuba. Joseph Cerny, Florida. Pablo Gomez, Florida. Andrea Sofia Alfonso Mendez, Puerto Rico. Angel Bass, Puerto Rico. Gregory Limadi, Florida. Hydria Mathurin, Massachusetts. Nikki Manukonda, Pennsylvania. Julie Mullane, New Jersey. Jason Wolfe, New Jersey. Yvonne Olayemi, New Jersey. Aliyah Sutton, New York. Kyla Fox, Indiana. Valid Aziz, California. Andrew Lupianes, Florida. Abigail Bruns, Texas. Stephanie Michonne Johnson, California. Jackie Husu, British Columbia, Canada. Neil Aziz, Ontario, Canada. Zubarai Simister, New York. Daniel Grubbs, Virginia. Harikanth Karanam, Texas. Cornelius Krapa, New York. Onrush Bangar, British Columbia, Canada. David Said, California. Amer Husari, Syria. Adnan Labada, Syria. Sun Min Lee, South Korea. Ananya Mankare, India. Dalia Elmays, Ohio. Amana Islam, Connecticut. Manit Aujula, British Columbia, Canada. Mawa Taja, Pennsylvania. Subihi Aurora, California. Lori Yap Shing, Jamaica. Akiba Huita, Jamaica. Antonio Muina, Florida. Neil Jacob, Georgia. Camilla Carrion, Florida. Sarah Elziabak, New Jersey. Dania Al-Sharaf, Palestine State. Daniel Mendoza, Florida. Tommy Sion Mondragon, El Salvador. Mohammed Hamza, Pakistan. Aidil Noon, Texas. Ankit Patel, Virginia. Akshar Patel, California. Meet Patel, Ontario, Canada. Abhinav Katuru, North Carolina. Kushi Orakondi, India. Zian Abubakar, India. Mortaza Rashid, California. Jerry Nojuji, Texas. Robert A. Beer II, Rhode Island. Sanja Ahmed, New York. Elizabeth Richard, Florida. Bina Skipiliti, New Jersey. We now move to Makindo College. Julia Christian, Ontario, Canada. Haramba Gopi, India. Amir Bagheri, California. Amanda Hernandez Paretz, Florida. Patrick Dela Cruz, New York. Rohit Srivastava, Missouri. Melawit Tekeste, California. Galinia Verbailo, Texas. Vijay Chandran, Texas. Manan Garg, New Jersey. Kofi Bawulism, Tennessee. Valan Kamaj, New Jersey. Robert Hodes, Pennsylvania. Snove Tia Cape, Haiti. Isabella Jean Charles, New York. Chinamere Uanayanwu, Texas. Michael Swan, Maryland. Jesus Carrillo, California. James Wishaw, Kentucky. Angelica Vipele, Ontario, Canada. Haley Olivia Peterson, Florida. Crystal Amalu, California. Sarah Grant, Texas. Georgette Kadianakis, New York. Marina Mankarius Ideal Isaac, Illinois. Tomislav Lukic, Florida. Sorry. Paula May, North Carolina. Gabrielle Bowen, Georgia. Crystal Verk, Texas. Aditi Patel, Illinois. Paige Hauko, Ontario, Canada. Rishma Jarial, Manitoba, Canada. Rushil Guduru, Texas. Neil Ramesh Kumar Bansilal Bharati, California. Isabella Ripoll, Ontario, Canada. Adam Jank, Michigan. Stephen Marshall, New Jersey. Jermaine Libourde, British Virgin Islands. Jasmine Ledford, New York. Jonathan Bertram, California. Sibga Amin, Pennsylvania. Kyla Martinez, New York. Sarah Esmeralda Canales, Florida. Bridget Mena, Florida. Devan Messick, South Carolina. Sam Chowdhury, New York. Dante Nazarian, California. Mashish Hedayati, Iran. Max Christensen, Texas. Zaid Bazar, Texas. Saeed Haider Ali, California. Samilda Charles, New York. Christopher Lamb, Florida. Mackenzie Ford, Texas. David Montoya, Texas. Sarah Quick, New York. Omar Lofty, Florida. John Vanange, South Carolina. Zachary Juan Singh, Texas. Anvit Chidana, New Jersey. Shani Job, Florida. Anthony Aikuhwele, New York. Haley Huen, New Jersey. Chad Brewer, Ohio. Kiana Wells, Tennessee. Nisha Solanki, Ontario, Canada. Regina Lane, Tennessee. Aditi Basu, New Jersey. Chandana Dasari, New Jersey. Felicity Mampe, Botswana. Matador College, Paul Mansour, California. Christopher Marrero, Florida. Azin Mastale, Georgia. Ethan Magazina, New Jersey. Juliet Soto, Florida. Christina Huber, Florida. Sam Messer, New Jersey. Sienna Ruka, Illinois. Sarah Mello, Connecticut. Tristan Wilson, Nebraska. Jessica Lynn, Colorado. Alexander Hesselman, Florida. John Feast, Virginia. Ahmad Abu Zaita, North Carolina. Farja Mirza, California. Haneen Awawda, New York. Brennan Hughes, Tennessee. Lauren Parker, Oklahoma. Julian Tierno, Florida. Emily Stetkovich, Massachusetts. Muskan Katiwala, Florida. Kirashani Kesavan, Ontario, Canada. Jean-Paul Dardet, Puerto Rico. Zachary Evans, Texas. Ruthvi Patel, New Jersey. Sean Connor, New Jersey. Nithin Reddy, Georgia. Ritesh Edwards, Maryland. David Elkuri, California. Mazin Kahalil, Sudan. Paige Ramussen, California. Sifat Harun, New York. Ishi Yusuf, Texas. Simi Solo Olua Ogushonu, Nigeria. Folake Olameju Joseph, New Jersey. Vashti Price, Louisiana. Kulusum Rizvi, Pakistan. Serena Zarate, California. Janice Anyuanwu, Nigeria. Kunal Kurana, Virginia. Luz Willeme Raymond, Haiti. Harun Hadzik, New York. Joseph Coppola, Connecticut. Jamie Verfuth, Connecticut. Ashley Andrews, California. Rachel Chowdhury, New Jersey. Laurel Brenda Biabu, Cameroon. Ashley Forte, New York. Hope Michael, Ontario, Canada. Akmal Shazad, Ontario, Canada. Lillian Lee, California. Libby Hartung, Virginia. Joseph Michael Carmona, California. Joanna Hipple, California. Cole Gordon, New Jersey. Leah Meyer, Washington. Alexander Matthew, Texas. Gavin Olivares, Texas. Rutanj Sanghavi, New Jersey. Mahima Walia, Ontario, Canada. Jeremy Gerard, California. Yinhaing Lee, California. Joshua Rasibi, California. Uma Grandi, California. Peabody College. Patrick Golebielski, Poland. Erica Walata, New York. Donique Martin, New York. Anita Nazaki, Nigeria. Sujal Sigdal, Virginia. Nayati Patel, Ontario, Canada. Calvin Sam, New York. Audrey Escoto, Massachusetts. Uwad Mazaru, New Jersey. Mustafa Edris, Iraq. Yunus Dahali, Yemen. Sahil Patel, California. Fatima Mohammed Ali, Florida. Salma Memon, California. Destiny de Leon, New Jersey. Dominique Sequoian, California. Daphne Peter, California. Rohan Garg, Michigan.
Can you say Long Island instead of New York? Long Island? Damn it.
Alex Ortez, New York. Jagmeet Rahandwa, Manitoba, Canada. Alan Jury, India. Mackenzie Ostley, Minnesota. Lydia Abraham, Ontario, Canada. Mrildal Bajwa, Illinois. Serena Passad, New York. Alison Almeida Ahmadi, New Jersey. Madel Farah, Florida. Riley Blay, Iowa. Ali Chowdhury, California. Mehdi Zarai, Ontario, Canada. Obada Al-Zahabi, Missouri. Raj Singh Gohil, New Jersey. Mohammed Qasem Akras, Palestine. Amanda Allen, Connecticut. Yagoda Yedradchnik, California. Sasha Gonzalez, New York. Jackie Coyne, Colorado. Summer Richardson, Michigan. Skylar Richardson, Michigan. Eileen Rad, California. Dailene Landestoy, Georgia. Rakshita Ganju, Maryland. Carly McKinley Caspanello, Florida. Marion Tai Wo, Ontario, Canada. Hisin Hao Yang, China. Suvish Prathi, India. Yashar Haghigi, California. Priscilla Ramirez Sales, Wyoming. Yathin Chauhan, New Jersey. Lillian Brubaker, Pennsylvania. Richard Ike, Nigeria. Jared Akers, Ohio. Tamara Perez Ramos, Puerto Rico. Alessa Philbrick, Colorado. Isra Uz Zaman, California. Neil Patel, Virginia. Imad Malik, Ontario, Canada. Gajandra Sukdale, Pennsylvania. Austin Berger, Florida. Jessica Weidler, New York. Alexia Riga, Kentucky. Gabriel Campos, Brazil. Varuni Anand, India. Natawan Ekakaribichit, Thailand. Andrew Gertz, California. The next recipients of our white coats are being coated by a mentor, a family member, a friend. Please join me in thanking all of our coaters for this point of the ceremony. Sean Wang, Texas, being coated by mother, Dr. Xiao Hong Si. Justin Felix Bueno Paeste, Hawaii, being coated by father, Dr. Rosalo M. Paeste. Rachel Nguyen, Florida, being coated by father, Dr. Kana Nguyen. Saliha Ahmad, Colorado, being coated by father, Dr. Tanvir Ahmad. Jonathan Sarau, Florida, being coated by father, Dr. Egbert John Sarau. Rahul Anadi Curl, Rhode Island, being coated by mother, Dr. Rita Curl. Ramel Rotoni, California, being coated by mother, Dr. Remedios Managal. Sophia Raya, New York, being coated by grandfather, Dr. Kalman Post. Kareem Raslan, Michigan, being coated by father, Dr. Hazem Raslan. Samira Sunkara, Virginia, being coated by mother, Dr. Vijaya Lakshmi Sunkara. Crystal Esani, Maryland, being coated by father, Dr. Hamid Esani. Sophia Truono, Delaware, being coated by father, Dr. Daniel Truono. Amanda Lalama, Florida, being coated by father, Dr. Hector Lalama.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Reina. Thank you to all of the Robas. It is my hope that one day I can be on this stage robing my son. By the way, he's 14 going on 40. At this time, I invite the students to stand and recite aloud with me the professional commitment. This commitment was written by a student task force in 1995 and has been recited at each of our schools of medicine white coat ceremonies. Today is the beginning of my medical education and training as a physician. I acknowledge my responsibility to continue the pursuit of knowledge and understanding until the day I cease to be practicing. I am entering today. I must be ever conscious of the value of my fellow healthcare professionals. My classmates at St. George's University are now my colleagues, and I owe to them I will work alongside my colleagues and professors with tolerance, compassion, and honesty. I acknowledge my obligation to adhere to the University Honor Code and conduct myself with integrity and in an ethical manner all times henceforth. I shall do all things within my power to show in myself it is a privilege to have been given the opportunity to be a physician. May I ever be conscious of privilege and never abuse it. Please be seated. On behalf of St. George's University, I would like to thank the Honor Gold Foundation for the Humanism in Medicine pins placed on each student's white coat and on the faculty's coats as well. Thank you, students, families, faculty, staff, administrators, for your support and presence at this ceremony. So please, all of the persons, please remain seated and keep the aisles clear until our students have exited as directed by the ushers. Again, thank you for joining us today, and congratulations to the class of 2026.